guys, it's Ash and P.
Oh my gosh. Hi. Hello.
I'm a little bit of a stickler. A stickler. There's that word. Pickle.
You're a strict stickler.
Strict stickler.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, did I just step in his piss? That's what I'm thinking, right? Hey guys, it's Ash and P.
No. We're back.
Yeah. Yep. That one. Good thing you can slice. Good thing you can slice. Oh my gosh.
Music is by Dust Bowl Champion. To hear Dust Bowl Champion's newest hits, search Dust Bowl Champion on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. Hey guys, it's Ash and P.
Hey.
We are back for part 2 of Destiny. So excited. Okay, when I cut this all off so that listeners would not hate us for pretending to be Joe Logan.
Joe Rogan.
Oh, we could be the Logan, Joe Logan.
Joe Logan. Hey, he couldn't even get us on that because that's not his name. Destiny did tell us that we could be the Ash and P experience. So I think so. But okay, so you had mentioned about these, basically not even that it's a dying industry, but having or going into a field where there is potential for could it just go away type of thing. And I know, P, that was something that you and Tony had brought up with Tristan, because Tristan being in the arts field, there, I guess it was probably when everything started really coming out that
AI.
A lot of it was AI instead of having to pay actors or whatever, right? There was a lot of that stuff. So what about that kind of thing? You know, these things that you, I guess, for how many years have they been making films, and now all of a sudden...
Oh, that breaks my heart.
I know.
Because it's not just visuals that they are having AI do, but they are also having AI write scripts.
Yeah.
And that is very awful to hear. AI is meant to make people's lives easier. It is not meant to make art or music or try to mimic the human creative mind. So that's awful, you know.
I wonder where this is going to go. So one of our concerns with Tristan was Tristan really loves I don't even know how, I don't know. I am not like art nerd type of like, I don't know the lingo of all these things, but like she really loves like the hand-drawn, like cartoonist, or not cartoonist, but like cartoons or like animation illustrations. Thank you. So she is very much an old school at heart when it comes to that. That's what gets her flowing. She loves that. She
really love art will always like that better. That's what I think. If you are a person who admires art more than the average, you are always going to see the value in that over some AI art. You're always going to see that.
And our concern was, Tristan, a lot of this is going digital. There's a lot of digital graphics, AI, even just let's not even go into the AI stuff. Let's just go into digital graphics. And she, like, right out of in high school, this was like senior year, she's like, I can't stand like digital graphics. Like I do not want to be a digital graphic designer. And I'm like, there's a big, huge market for it. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I don't want to be a part of it. And I'm like, okay, but let's think about I look at it and I think there's nothing wrong with doing what you want to, like, I want her to do what she wants to do. And I want her to love what she does. So I never want her to feel like she's doing something that she doesn't love, but I think that there's ways to find that love in other aspects too. And I just don't want her to be so like on the narrow and not open to other doors, which could be, okay, I look at graphic design and graphic arts, and I think of like automatically, like my marketing buzz goes off, right? Like my marketing side goes off, and I just think there are skills that you can do both of those worlds to me and offer something in both of those worlds. And you may not get to hand draw everything that you think that you want, but you can turn that into a digital. Your hand art can be turned into digital, and it could still have the same effect and meaning. And also, I just think of like, honestly, in today's world, I probably would say, coming from my background and what I did previously, I think one of the strongest sense of experience, education, whatever, is going to be marketing, because I truly do think that, I mean, I think that business is probably so broad, but there's probably amazing, great things that you can also do in business. Marketing, I feel like whether we like it or not, at some point, we all market ourselves, not just our job, you know. You are your own brand designer of destiny. And you know what I mean? Like, this is like a world where we kind of have to market ourselves. And people have to kind of get to know you, or think they know you, or whatever it is, whatever you're putting out there, for the jobs, for the relationship building, for the doors to open for further experience. So much of that, I think that for the kids that grow up and they go to college or whatever, and they're still introverts at the end of the day, it becomes hard for them to sustain that life in the workforce because they don't know how to do that. Part of being in the real world is also sometimes not being on the shy side. You got to kind of learn how to build those relationships, which is marketing. And so I just kind of wanted her to have like this better idea of like, know that your door doesn't have to be so narrow. I'm not saying like, if now there'd be a difference if she was already interning into what she's trying to do. And I hope that comes sooner rather than later, if that's the path that she's chose. She's already changed her major once. So I don't know, but I think that we have to like also look at, find a field, but no, it's not so, it doesn't have to be so specific. This isn't, I'm going to nursing school to be a nurse. This is like, I'm going to a college to learn about all of these things and hope to have a career in this particular verbiage or this kind of specialty, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's one job out there for you. There could be 100%. Several.
A few things is that quote, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to plan no matter what, but be prepared that it's not going to go the way you think, and you're probably not going to end up where. That doesn't mean you shouldn't make a plan. You have to make a plan. But if you are so dead set on it ending out a certain way, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, so that is one thing. Another thing, I completely agree with the marketing. We are all marketing ourselves no matter what career path or what stage of your life. We are all marketing ourselves, and you have to get used to it.
Yeah.
Being shy is not a flex, and it's not a cute internet persona. I'm sorry to tell you, like, it's not going to benefit you at all. It may look cool to some of your friends who are also like that, but that's not to be mean to anybody. It's just a reality, because it's a constant obstacle in the way of your everyday life, whether you're on a phone call or you're ordering food or you're in an interview. Another thing is, I thought it was interesting you brought up graphic design, because I know someone who went to like arts college, and about 15 years ago, a lot of people were going to school for graphic design, and the field became so oversaturated with graphic designers, and it kind of didn't go well for people who are trying to get a job in graphic design. Another thing now is incredible and beautiful as it would be to hand draw your designs, they're not going to pay you for the time you put in unless you are really, really, really sought after. So the person who used a template in a software to design that and spent an hour on it, and you spent 13 hand drawing, unless they really covet your art, you're not going to get paid for all that work you put in. And that's the hard truth of trying to monetize your art. And I think that's what's hard, is we want artists to make art because they love it. And if you're making it for consumption or for money, that's where I think artists struggle, which is why you always hear the thing starving artists, because I think it's very difficult to get money off of your art, specifically if you're doing traditional fine arts. That's the hardest, I think.
Yeah.
But when you succeed in it, you end up going really far, though. So if
Yeah.
you succeed in it, you're going to make a lot of money off of your passion. But when the economy goes bad, that's the first thing to go, is people aren't not going to spend money on art.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but that goes back to maybe making yourself more versatile and expanding your portfolio, maybe having a trade in your back pocket that you can do just in case, or doing something on the side, or I don't know. I do hesitate to think that putting all your eggs in that basket, it's risky, but someone needs to do it. You don't necessarily want your kid to be the one doing it, so it's hard, right? It's like,
No,
oh, man.
I totally agree. I mean, on not even focusing on Tristan, but if I look at you know, a member of our family who is really into art
Mm-hmm.
and is an artist and is doing things that are pretty crazy
Mm-hmm.
that he's doing right now. Like, it's pretty phenomenal that he's like, I don't think he's like making a ton of money off of this, but he is definitely getting noticed and getting jobs, getting gigs, and
It's working.
it's working.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It blows my mind. Like, I am shocked all the time of like,
A perfect example of putting all your eggs into one artistic basket and just being like, I'm going to do this. And other people from the outside looking in, you're like, that's insane. What are you doing? And then they do it. You're like, damn, all right. Well, don't listen to me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's working. I never would have ever thought in my mind like that would be a path that they would take or do, but wow, I'm blown away. It's
And people
insane.
do it. They do it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they make art their life and they succeed no matter what is happening in the world. So who's to say? Our best guess is usually more just based off experience and like statistics.
Yeah.
But not everyone's a statistic either.
Right.
Yeah, that is crazy. Okay. You mentioned a couple of documentaries, one with one of your professors, and then I think maybe one with a classmate.
Unfortunately, they weren't documentaries; they were fiction.
Oh,
I like documentaries.
Okay. Well, either way, I think it's cool.
Films.
Are you? Yes, film. Sorry. Are you comfortable telling us what those two were, if anyone's interested in?
So one of the short films for my professor, it was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun. I was a co-producer on it. His name is Aaron Schulke, and the film is called Inheritance. I believe he's probably still sending it into film festivals, so it's probably not available to the public at this point. But people are welcome to look it up. Inheritance. Oh, Inheritance isn't the one I did. My bad. That's his other one. Let me look at my thing. I forget what it's called. But he does have an actual film he made that got awards called Inheritance. I don't know why I thought it was that one. That's his. He did. I did not do that one, but
but that is one people would be able to find.
That one, you might be able to find that one. That was a full. I want to say that might have been a full length, or a short film. I'm not sure. The one I did with him it's called That Distant Shore. So the short film that we did that he's probably still sending in is called That Distant Shore by Aaron Schulke. And that was really fun. I had a great time doing it. Again, I don't think it's open for public consumption.
How long ago was that?
It was 2022.
Okay. So just because I have no idea how any of this works, obviously, but so what is a typical time frame for like these independent filmmakers to get something out in the public?
So if you're making a short film, which there's no money in short films, but it is a way to get your name out there. If you're making a short film, you are probably going to send that into film festivals for the next like year or two, I would guess.
And then maybe it gets out, or typically
you'll get it shown somewhere for sure at a film festival. You probably get it shown. it won't guarantee to win an award, but you can get your film shown.
Does it cost a lot of money to have it to submit it?
I don't know if there is application fees or not, but I'm sure there is.
Are you
And
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, are
no,
you typically in like a is there a what's it called? Is there like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like there's the Guild Award, there's the SAGs, there's like the what are they called? They're called they're groups. They're called it's like a union, right? Like a union. Are independent films like are they usually part of any types of film unions like that?
I mean, if you can be like in the screenwriters union if you're writing, but as far as actually
Okay.
creating like a film itself, I'm not too familiar with that because I've never done it. I was a co-producer on one short film, but I wasn't a part of him submitting it to any film festivals or anything like that.
Okay.
And that's the hard part is you want everyone to see it, right?
Right.
But if you want it to go far, sometimes if you're a professional, you're not going to just release it to the whole world. You're going to submit it to film festivals first.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting, weird thing about, about the industry.
And how common is it that these films that are released to the film festivals that they do make it out to the entire public?
I think usually after their festival submission run, they tend to release it publicly. Not always,
okay.
but sometimes, and not right away.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that. I'm sure it varies.
All right. Awesome. And then this is not the exact same thing, but while we were between episodes, we had talked about, P had mentioned in the beginning of the first episode, the part 1, that you love outdoor cooking videos and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a little bit of a conversation about that. So can you kind of tell us a little bit more about what it is that you, as far as this outdoor cooking stuff, and about how we might be able to find you in the future?
So I post some of the shorter clips on Instagram Reels. I just think that's a really accessible way for people. At first, I was doing it in a typical format, where you'd see it like a movie format, right? So that's wider, and it would go on YouTube in the longer formats, and I just felt like that wasn't really going anywhere, especially because I'm not one of those people who is showing my face and telling you everything and narrating the whole thing and giving. It's not a cooking tutorial. That's not what I do. It's more just
Right.
about what the food looks like and where the food is being cooked. So I do that on Instagram Reels. It's my personal Instagram, but I did recently start a separate Instagram. It's called Sierra Nevada-ish. So Sierra Nevada-ish. And it's just about stuff in and around the Sierra Nevadas usually, but if I go out of the state, then I record it too. And I also, for my capstone project for college, I did a 3-part outdoor cooking series, and I really liked it, and I got some good feedback from
I
the
liked
professor and my peers. So it came about not because I wanted to do it for a living or get likes and views, just because I really enjoyed it. My husband was good at cooking. I like cooking, and I'm the one behind the camera, though. And I'm producing as well, so I'm making sure everything's in place. And then he's just the one that's actively cooking while I'm recording. And there's something really cool about cooking over fire outdoors because it's difficult and it's also simple. You don't have all these different things going on. You're not in a kitchen. There's not like a huge, crazy production going on, and it's a lot of trial and error. So I've done oysters in Point Reyes, and we bought the oysters right there locally. Pacific Oysters. You go to the oyster farm, buy them, and then we went to Beach North, and we got a fire permit. You can get it at the visitor center, and it's free, and they're really helpful. I advise people to do that if you're going to cook on the beach. And we just set up our grill, and I had made a fontina like spinach cream sauce the night before, brought it in a jar, and we shucked the oysters, put the fontina cream sauce in each one, and grilled it. And it's just so much fun to me and so enjoyable. I guess I'm probably my biggest fan when it comes to those videos. because no one ever says anything when I post them, but I really like them. And I watch them all the time. I'm like, this is really good.
I love it.
And then
love
I've
that.
done an aged ribeye in the snow, which was super fun. And
Oh,
I did
yeah.
trout by the river. And then last summer, my friend moved to Washington, and he has his crabbing license. So we went kayaking and pulled up some crab pots and had a seafood boil by the bay, by the ocean up there. So any kind of stuff like that, I want to keep doing. And
You should.
I also hope that I can meet people who have, like, say this guy has property and he does boar hunting, and he'll let us come over and he'll let us come with him, and then we cook and we do a video, that kind of thing. Or I know someone who forages clams and they'll take me to this place and I can do it with them. So I'm hoping it takes me places like that, just opening up options in our natural environment of where I can go and get locally sourced proteins, mostly protein based, I guess, even though there's vegetables in it. I think it tends to be focused on some natural local protein of some kind.
So let me
That is awesome.
let me ask you this, because I think your videos are amazing, and I think that your passion and love for not just film but food and cooking, and it pairs well with, you know, your husband's passion for food and cooking. And I think that, and maybe that's why I enjoy them too so much, is like, I actually am a very big fan of yours, because I think that that it's not just the film, but I really just feel like it shows, and it's so captive, like that you guys love what you're doing, and you have like this, in all honesty, it is an art. I mean, it really is an art, not just to film it, but to actually capture the cooking of it and the way you're preparing it and the deliciousness of it, and the idea of even coming up to go do these things in these places and what you're actually putting on the grill. I think it's really unique, and I think it's really neat. Now, my question to you is, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit before in the past, you're not so big of a fan of putting it all out there on social media, right? Like, I feel like
I'm going to get better at it, but my big thing is as soon as I try to do one of those videos, say someone wanted me to do it for them, I can't. It's like instantly I can't do it. I'm not interested. It has to be for me because I want to do it. And so I guess there's a lack of accountability there if you're just doing it because you feel like it. But I do want to get more serious about it. And the hard part of that is, like, I need feedback. Like, why would I post all this if no one cares about it, if it's just for me anyways? So that's the hard part, is like, maybe I need to post more, but it's so much work. Like, people don't realize
it is.
Editing takes so long. And it's like, everyone's like, cool, all right. I'm like, well, I just spent 7 hours editing that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, I get it, because
I do it anyways. You know,
I get it, because just doing social media editing for me, I'm like, this is so much work. I mean, it really is so much work. And I've been doing it for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And I am just like, it's one of those things where sometimes I go through these phases where I'm just like, I hate social media. I mean, I already don't, there's things about it I really, really do not like. And I would be totally fine if the world just shut every page down and was like, we're not doing this anymore. I'd be cool with that. I'd be totally fine with that. But they're not yet. And so they're still out there. And that is the people's way. That is our culture is just used to, that's the news, that's their everything. That's their newspaper, that's their your local news station, that's your everything right now. That's where they get all of their information. So whether it's entertainment value or it's like, things that are happening right now in the world, that's what they're looking at. And it's an easy, accessible pickup. So I understand that, but it does take so much work. So I totally get it. It's a job within itself just to do
and if you want
all
to
of
do
that.
It's not an excuse to be like, oh, it's just so much work. It's more that I just need to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, I love
okay. I went and I found it. So thank you. I'm excited. I didn't have the volume on, obviously, since we're recording, but I'm excited to watch it with the sound on in a little bit
Oh, you
because
found
it
my
looked really,
Instagram?
yeah, it looked really cool. So on like the stuff that you were doing before you created this page, did you move that stuff over
I
to
did.
this page?
Anything
Oh,
that
good.
felt
Okay,
relevant,
perfect.
I did, as long as there's food in it. And I will say, so the first 3, I did those for school, and it was just me and my husband, and it was awesome. However, for the most recent one, that was the crabbing. We went up to Washington, got local crab. I remember on that trip, I was with close friends, and my cousins, and we did a bunch of things. But the morning we got up, we went and kayaked and took out those crab pots and set everything up and waited and pulled them out, and then that next day, going and doing the seafood boil. To me, in my mind, I was like, this is what life's about. This is what
Yeah.
I want to do. If I could choose anything, it would be to connect with people who know about how to get food from their natural environment, and go out with them early in the morning and get it all done and spend all day and prepare all the food and record it all. That it's so enjoyable to me that there is not anything comparable to it. It's definitely my
That's
favorite
really
thing
cool.
ever.
Yeah.
So are the first 3 that you're talking about on this page, or that's on a YouTube?
I think I made reel versions as well. So everything
Okay.
I have is there's an Instagram reel version of it.
And we'll
Is that
share
the-
we'll share
okay.
the Instagram page
Sometimes
too on our.
Instagram just decides to destroy my my quality, because the crab one had amazing quality for months, and then a couple weeks ago I noticed the quality is bad, and I don't know
Oh.
why, because it had been fine for months. So I think I'm gonna delete and re-upload, which I hate doing that, but it's got to be
That's
done. And that's another
obnoxious.
thing about making any kind of content, right? Is sometimes you do everything right, and then whatever platform you're uploading it to makes it difficult. And you're like,
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
you're just over it.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I love food, so I'm excited. On a side note of that, while you were talking, I was like, oh gosh, I gotta ask her. In our past few episodes, you haven't heard them yet because they haven't dropped, but I have
Ashley
stopped
went
eating
crazy.
dairy. I went crazy. Yes,
She
I
turned
did.
40 and went crazy, but
Yes.
she's trying to eat healthy right now.
I'm trying to eat healthy. Well, I'm not doing dairy, which is very sad, but P said you might know of some like vegan cheeses that maybe I can look at them and see if there's something I could have. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, what's really annoying to me is I was vegan for 4 years. Now I'm not vegan,
Oh,
and
no.
all the cool options are
Is that mine?
available at every grocery store. And now
It's a lot easier to be vegan, huh?
Yeah, there
now.
was 1 vegan cheese and 2 vegan meats, and now there's 5, and the 5 cheeses at any store and 10 meats. I'm like, this is so frustrating. I'm like, I still point it out to my husband. I'm like, look what they got now. But I definitely can suggest a few different ones to you. I know it depends on what stores you go to, though. They carry different brands, but BioLife was always a good one. BIO Life. And then Follow Your Heart is more accessible, and it's pretty decent. Follow Your Heart's decent.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ashley is like not just not eating dairy though. She's like not eating anything.
I am. What are you
she
eating? How about that? What are you eating? Maybe that's a shorter list.
I'm avoiding preservatives and just eating like natural stuff.
Good for you.
except no grains or anything like that either.
Oh yeah, no,
Well, our food
no wheats
system's
or
real
grains.
messed up, so I don't blame it.
See,
anybody.
Priscilla, you hear that? Our food
I
system's real messed
understand.
up.
I understand. I do know. Ashley
She's like,
just
you just went a little crazy. is
she
all.
just went like from like 0 to 500 like in one day, and I'm like,
I am like supportive of everybody, but I think I'm one of those people who thinks all diets are crazy. Like when someone's like, I'm gonna be keto for the rest of my life, I'm like, okay, that's fucking crazy, but all right. I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on here, but I'm like, that's
yes, you
insane.
can.
You can do whatever you want.
I'm like, so that's insane, but good for you, like, dang,
Well,
okay.
Yeah, it's not. It's more so trying to get all of. I'm like, as you know, a very bad eater. Like
I don't know, but I'll
you.
take your word for it.
I feel like you
So,
can tell that I
Ashley,
don't
no,
do the
stop it,
best.
Ashley.
You want to cleanse, is what you're saying, kind of like you want to like.
She wants to do this forever. She wants to eat this way forever.
I do want to avoid eating processed stuff.
Have you
forever,
considered talking to a nutritionist?
Mm-mm.
Something to think about. And have you gotten lab work done recently?
I have gotten some lab work done
It's good to
recently.
get
She
your
Yes.
blood
does.
tested and
She
kind of
does go to the
see
doctor
where
a
you're
lot.
at, you know? But
Yeah.
I
She
mean,
does go
one
to the
thing I
doctor.
think about
I have high
sometimes
cholesterol.
is when it comes to diets and eating habits is sometimes we focus on what we want to eat less of. And I think it's good to sometimes think about what you want to eat more of.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I agree. I think that so when I say like I'm all for Ashley not, so
Eating McDonald's
we have a
and
yes.
Taco Bell
Yes.
and
If you
Yes.
don't
We
want
have a joke.
McDonald's and like Hostess products, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, "What? That's crazy." That's good. That's a good idea.
Good idea. So we have this like funny thing that we go back to, and it's like one of the first times I was like, oh wow, okay, they eat a little bit different than we do. Ashley's not a cooker. She's not a cooker. She doesn't really cook. Usually, Jason's the one cooking for everyone.
That is a
And
huge obstacle to eating healthy is if you
yes,
don't cook.
and if you don't cook, and Jason is also usually more than not, he's gone 4 days a week on the road, and so he's not really cooking for himself because he's staying in hotels and he's on the road. And then Ashley doesn't cook, so she's now having to. She's going to have to be forced to cook because unless she's going to eat carrots and celery every night, it's not going to happen, right? And she has to do it for her kids. But when her kids were little, we just remember her youngest. I mean, he was a little boy too, but he knew the whole Wiener Schnitzel menu by memory. And I was like, we got, okay, they're going to eat a little different. They eat a little different.
Yes. Let me clarify. It's not the whole menu.
Let me clarify.
It's worse. It's worse than that. Because I think saying like, oh, they have chili dogs, they have chili fries, they have corn. I think that's pretty easy to, recall stuff like that. The worst part is that, so I take the boys on their birthdays. I would pick them up from school and take them to lunch, and they would get to pick where they went. And so based on the day of the week, Jackson would determine if he wanted to go to Wiener Schnitzels or not, because their dessert, like they have their like value menu for desserts. And so he'd be like, today's this day. Okay, well we can go to Panda instead or something like that. I'm such a good mom that I've been feeding my kids all of this horrible stuff forever. But yeah, so yes, he in kindergarten, he already knew what the dessert days of the week options were.
He knew what he wanted and he knew how to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So
and had a good memory.
It is very
good
sad.
memory.
But yeah, so my goal is just to be healthier, and I know there's a lot of bad
And
stuff.
okay, let me ask you this really quick, just because this came up last night at dinner. The seed oils. This is a big thing for you right now, right? Like the seed oils are bad for you. And so is it the extracting part? Is it that they're putting, where are the chemicals coming from? What is the bad part of it? And what seed oils are safe that you know of?
Do you know much about seed oils, Destiny? You nodded, so I feel like you
I know a little
probably
bit
are
about
smarter
it.
about them
From
than I am.
what I know is seed oils are very like inflammatory to like every single part of your body, and I think it's not just that there's an extraction process that's extensive. I believe they also have to use a variety of chemicals to do it because there's so little oil in each one. And also, those seed oils, I believe, were originally used for industrial uses only, and the food came later. I could be wrong about that. But I try to stay away from them, but I don't know hella. I wouldn't be like, they're bad, no one should eat them. However, olive oil, avocado oil, and butter, I think those three things are pretty good for you. So, because those aren't seeds, they're pits. And then butter is dairy. So, I think avocado oil and olive oil are two of the good ones if you can,
Yes. Okay. She's right. It's the seed oils, none of them are going to be good because of that. But that, yeah,
and
olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil
to inflammation. So I know that that's kind of like this chronic issue that a lot of people suffer from, is just inflammation of all different parts of the body that lead to a lot of different health problems and illnesses. So I think that that's just a big movement right now, is trying to reduce inflammation throughout the
Well,
body.
Ashley's whole body is inflamed all the
Seed
time.
oil is not.
Yes, I've been eating McDonald's for 37 years, As soon as I turned 3, I started
But isn't that the beauty
joining
of
in.
life, is that we could just learn to do something and do things differently?
Yeah.
Like, I think
So,
David Goggins was saying you can learn to be tough. Not everyone is just tough. You can learn to be
Yeah.
tough.
that's
You
Yeah,
true.
can
that's true.
learn to have a different relationship with food. You can learn to do all these things. You just have to want to do it, and that's pretty cool. Especially if it's
Yeah.
like not too late. Like if you, it sucks when something physical has gone so far to where you don't have the same.
There's no choice.
Yeah, even there's no choice anymore. But when you can do preventative things, that's a really cool like control and power over your own life.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah. Well, and so like with the inflammation and whatnot, with my medical issue with my skin stuff, how I
Yes.
tear easily and
Yes.
all of that. That's one thing that I'm hoping will get better. Part of like I have like a part of my skin that's been impacted by it. It'll never be the same. So like I can't go back on that, but I can hopefully prevent that happening to more parts of my skin. And then but like Hayden has psoriasis really, really bad. Jackson has eczema really, really bad. And those things are both impacted by inflammation. So, yeah, it's really my whole family. I mean, Jason, he just gets hernias and sleep apnea and stuff like that, but the boys and me are like, we have skin issues
what you
and stuff.
consume shows very quickly throughout your body, and like your skin's your largest organ. So whatever you're consuming all the time is gonna be obvious. And one of the big things is water. Like
100%.
So people are
100%.
chronically dehydrated. I mean, my husband,
Yes.
he's chronically dehydrated, and it's almost like he takes offense.
Yeah, he's like he has like alligator skin. Yeah.
And he gets like these really like dry patches right here, and he just will just scratch them. And I'm like, yes, it's cold outside, and maybe you have a little bit dry skin, but water is going to help you bare minimum at least do that.
Yes.
And then we can get you some eczema cream.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed when I was on vacation, I normally drink water at work. In winter it does slow down obviously because you're not as thirsty, but I noticed while I was on vacation, all of a sudden, like my lips were no longer dry. And I'm like, gosh, dummy, come on. But why can't I just be more mindful of that on a regular basis,
Yeah.
Instead, I'm like, let me use every kind of Vaseline, ointment, whatever for my mouth because my lips will just be so dry. So yeah, I know. You're so right.
And why not both? I find myself thinking that a lot when I see stuff on social media. It's like, this is what you're doing, this is what you should be doing, or you're living this lifestyle when it's better to live this lifestyle. And I always find myself thinking, like, but why not both? Like, moderation is key, and it's the hardest thing you'll ever do in your entire life. That's why I think abstinence is easier in a lot of ways. Like, oh, I'm just not going to eat this. I'm just not going to do this.
You're speaking to Ashley.
Yeah, I think because I'm speaking to all of us.
I have
moderation.
no self-control.
No, because we talk about this because she's always like, it's easier for me to just say, no, I can't. And I just am like, I go 0 to 100 because to me, that's easier. Like it's way easier than trying to modify and say, oh, I can only have 2 M&Ms or I can only have, so much. No, I won't. I'll have the whole bag. I don't know how to control myself in that.
I think more people experience that, and it's a symptom of a bigger theme of life, that life is just a balancing act.
100%.
You're on the teeter-totter and you'll never get off the teeter-totter.
Oh,
and
yeah.
As soon as you think you found the perfect equilibrium, like if something throws it off.
100%.
I think you have to learn to embrace that, otherwise you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. 100%. I agree.
That's why I'm crazy.
We should, there's a quote, it's either Aristotle or Marcus Aurelius, and he says, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself.
That is a good quote.
Easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to point out other people's flaws and ignore your own, but that's something I'm learning. Be strict with yourself, but strict with yourself doesn't mean beating yourself up, because that's
right.
If beating yourself up was going to fix your life, then your life would be perfect. My life
would be.
Yeah.
Beating yourself up
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. You just want to try to make yourself accountable, be consistent, be good to yourself. That's what I'm trying to do, because that makes the difference. Being accountable and consistent and being good to yourself, not talking bad to yourself. My husband always says that my self-talk's really bad. So these are certain things that I'm trying to work on, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
I know.
I'm glad that he points that out so that you can work on it, you know, rather than, and some, you know, some people are in certain type of relationships where maybe somebody, their self-talk is bad, but somebody else is talking bad to them too. And so they don't realize that that's really, you know, we do need to be kind to ourselves. You know, we are our own worst critics, unfortunately. I mean, and it's helpful because there are things that we should not be certain ways, but yeah, in that way. Now, on that topic, kind of, I'm curious about on part one, you had mentioned a little bit before you had left for the service, and then when you came back, you had fallen into like a depression where it was like you looked forward to just sleeping, basically. Did you do any therapy, if you don't mind answering that kind of question, or what did you do? Like for people that struggle with maybe not necessarily like because something like that's happened, but you know, people struggle with depression just because of it. So
Different
any
things.
suggestions that you have or anything that you did that you felt was helpful?
I definitely should go to therapy at some point, but more because of things that has happened to me, not really like experiences I put myself into. So I do want to at some point. I've never been to therapy. I've never spoken to a counselor or anything like that, which is not good. I should probably do that.
Yeah.
But I think that what it came down to, I forget who was speaking, but there was a clip of someone saying like, "Hey, no one's coming. No one's coming to help. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming with the answers. Like, nobody's coming. Like, what are you waiting for? No one's going to help you. No one can do it for you." There's a quote, I think, I live off quotes. So this is a big part of the answer is what you've been through, someone's experienced it already. There's wisdom out there and there's insight and guidance out there. And all you have to do is seek it out, and it makes me feel so seen and validated and full of hope. So a big part is reading and listening to other people. That has been the difference. But there's, I think it's a Rumi quote, I'm not sure how to even say that, but he said, people can walk the path with you, but they can't walk it for you. And I think that's what it comes down to. No one can help you, only you can help yourself, and it's not as daunting and scary as it sounds. And my biggest advice to other people would be seek out wisdom and guidance. For some people, that's going to be the Bible. You know, for other people, it's going to be philosophy, like Stoic philosophy. That's what it was for me. Just listening to age-old wisdom of a great Roman emperor from 2,000 years ago, and everything he's saying is exactly relevant to my life right now. That has been helpful. So Stoic philosophy, as silly as that answer might sound, was a big determining factor. And also, another thing was like certain bad habits, they build up. So if you can get rid of one or two, then that's going to accumulate in a good way instead of a bad way.
Yeah. Do you feel like for those, like, you know, I mean, you went through this depression and you were married and you were coming back and knowing your husband knows this is probably one of the hardest moments in your life. And as someone who is like the person that maybe is the other, like maybe the partner, like how in your eyes, how was it like what was most helpful that he did, or what a partner could do in dealing with someone who's going through that part of their life that low?
That is another big part of how much my life has changed, is that I have a really supportive partner. We have a really good relationship that I think only gets better. It does, and that is nothing to like turn your nose up at, because most people don't have that. So there's always going to be something that that you just can't just get on your own, because if you either have a good relationship or you don't, you know.
Yeah.
So what he offered me, I think that he's patient with me. He didn't try to get me to not feel the way I was feeling. Maybe there were sometimes he inadvertently did that, but he didn't get like exhausted with me. I think sometimes when someone is going through a hard time, their partner is like, can't you just not feel this way anymore? Like, how much longer do I have to deal with you like this? And I understand where people are coming from, because you just get frustrated and you feel helpless when your partner is suffering. You feel helpless, and it upsets you. And then now you're both not doing well. So he was patient with me, and I think as we've gotten older, our communication is better. And he was understanding. He just kind of let me go through it, because there's only so much he can do.
Right.
And also, love languages is a big part, right? So I think something as simple as, for me, I think acts of service. I'm not like give me gifts person. I don't really care about that as much, but acts of service. So something super simple, like I got out of the bath and he had laid my clothes out for me to go to bed. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very simple, but those little things, you just have to know your partner and what. Just, I don't know. Maybe I feel like a lot of people would like that, but
no, but you're absolutely right. And I think like we've talked about this before on a different episode, like what your love language is. And I think it's important to know what your partner's love language really is, because it's probably not the same as yours. Mm-hmm. And if you're not aware of it, you're missing something, and you're going to miss the mark eventually, and not to say it's going to be like the devastation. It's just that you're not fulfilling something because you're missing the mark on it. And it's important to know that. And some people would want to be probably, just held and cuddled and snuggled in that situation. And some people would rather say, get the fuck away from me right now. Like, I need my fucking space, So it all just, it really is about understanding and knowing your partner through in and out, and what they need, not necessarily what you want, but what they need. Mm-hmm. I think we all can learn from that over and over and over. I think it's something that I have to remind myself in my own relationship, in my own marriage, like, okay, this means something to you, but it doesn't really mean to him. Mm-hmm. He would rather you go kiss him right now. Mm-hmm. I would rather, can I just like go clean that for you so that I can like take care of that job? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just a difference of like how we communicate with each other, and making sure that that person is fulfilled just as much as you're fulfilled too. So I totally can see that.
And sometimes you just gotta just get through.
Yeah.
Right? You just gotta get through it. And when someone's going through a really hard time, I tell them what I would tell myself. I said, whatever you're tripping about right now is not what you were tripping about this time last year. And it's not going to be what you're tripping about this time next year. I mean, obviously it doesn't work for everybody. I feel like it works for like 95% of every situation, though. So, and when someone's in a really dark place, my advice to them is get through the night, go to sleep, get through the night, wake up in the morning. It's going to be at least 1% better. And just keep doing that every day until your life's in a different place. And I think that works pretty well,
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. See, that's why I love talking with you, Destiny.
Humans can't just roll over and give up. It's a nice thought, but that actually doesn't work that way. So you might as well. I've tried it. No, I'm just kidding. But you might as well just keep trying to be incrementally better. I think there's a Japanese word for it. It just means like just a tiny bit better at each day, like tiny bit better each day in whatever, in everything, in one thing. And maybe life just comes down to that, just trying to be a tiny bit better each day.
That's smart.
Yeah.
See, you are so I'm not joking. I feel like sometimes you just say the smartest things that I'm like,
well, you also just have I think you have a very calm strength to you.
Yeah.
And I can be more like, my strength is a little bit louder. But I think you have a quiet strength to you. And I think that it speaks volumes. And I think that you probably get more of a captive audience than you even think, because you're just thinking it's just you're just barely saying anything, and it's who's, whatever, who wants to hear it. But really, there is a quiet strength about you. You're a very strong person. I think that even when the hard part, I think that people have a hard time with when they're not a strong person is feeling like, well, I'm not strong. I'm not strong. I'm just not that kind of person. That's not me. That's you. That's not me. And it's like, no, well, everyone has a strength in them. It's just, you have to push yourself on it. You have to kind of pull it out of your own skin, because no one else can. And so you've got to find it within yourself.
Sometimes strength is forced on you. Often you're in situations and you have to make a choice of how you're going to handle situations. But I agree, we all have strength within us, and you could say, oh, that's just not me. Well, you can learn to be strong, you can learn to be tough, and it's all not equal. It's equal, but it's all very different. It looks different in different people. And I also, one thing I think about a lot is I never think of myself as smart. Maybe people think I think that because I'm opinionated, but just because you're opinionated doesn't mean you're smart.
Yeah,
So
this is true.
I do have lots of strong opinions, and sometimes I'm like, you should probably chill out. Easier said than done. But I don't think I'm any smarter or more intelligent or have more insight or wisdom than the next person. I really don't think that at all. I'm just opinionated and like to talk about things, I guess.
I think you have more wisdom than me. Like you were saying that one of the things you think is to seek wisdom. I don't know that that's something that I necessarily think like to improve, like maybe where I'm at emotionally or mentally, like maybe I am broken, and I don't necessarily go to that. But I think more recently I've been, reading the Bible more, like you had mentioned, sometimes it's that. And I do realize it makes a huge difference. It really does. Um, and I think for people that struggle with like anxieties or depressions or things like that, we're in our head a lot, and so it's like, if that's where you're seeking wisdom, it's not that you're not going to find it,
You're running on
so
fumes, you
yeah.
need to find some fuel
Yeah,
elsewhere.
exactly. So I think you are, when I say like you're smart and you are wise, I think like for especially, I mean, you're quite a bit younger than us, but I feel like I've always enjoyed having conversations with you, because I think like you always give me some type of wisdom in our conversations, and I love it.
And I'm going to say this on that really quick. And I know that a lot of times, and I do this too, you are a little like me in the sense of like, well, I've been through a lot of things really young, and I think it just kind of made me grow up and made me feel this way, or be this way. And although everything that we go through, good, bad, everything is totally what makes us, it is you. It is you. It is not even the situations. It is you that really is, you really are, like all of the things that we've said, because it's you. It's just who you are and who you were meant to be. And I really hope that, you keep us posted on your continued journey in finding your career and your next step. And even though you've hit some roadblocks, I always say, like, take a stepping stone, take a stepping stone. I do that. I've said that probably since I can remember. I feel like it was something that I remember hearing when I was really young, that you can always just take it's just one stepping stone. That's it, at a time. And I think that so much, like it just stuck with me about life in general. Like, take a stepping stone. Don't ever stay on that same rock. It's okay. Some are going to be scary and some are going to be easy, but you got to take the next step. And especially young people, young kids that are finishing high school or finishing college or taking, whatever your next steps are, your next career, your next job, or us, oldies over here. that are like ready to take on the next. I mean, here I am, I'm on a next stepping stone, and I didn't think that I would be on this stepping stone at my age, but here I am. I'm on a different stepping stone. I'm on a different stepping stone on a different road. I didn't even know I was going to be taking, so, but you have to move forward. Life is all about moving forward, and you never want to go backwards or stay stagnant, because it's not what you're meant to do. It's not what you're meant to be. And it doesn't mean that you have to change jobs. Ashley could retire, at her job, and after she's become a grandma, and she's, so next year, but she can retire in a few years, and then she takes another stepping stone, and it doesn't even have to be in her career. It can be in anything else. But it's just about moving forward. And I love seeing that. So I love seeing you guys, Destiny. I love seeing young people especially take the next step, because I think it's scary. And I know it's not always easy.
I agree a lot. I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you so much for being our first guest.
Thanks for having me. I was delighted, honestly.
We hope that you'll be back. And we will share the Sierra Nevada-ish on Instagram if you want to check out those videos, and we'll share some too on our social media pages. So
thank you so much. And
thanks, guys.
Until next time.
Yeah. Thanks for swapping with us. Segment music by Callie Grace. For more of Callie Grace's hits, follow Callie Grace on iTunes and Spotify today.